welcome to The Other Side of Leadership, a series by Somi Docs that explores leadership beyond just titles, roles, or anything that's traditional leadership. In medicine and healthcare, leadership is often defined by position. And every day, there are women shaping teams, supporting colleagues, mentoring others, and creating impact in ways that may not always be visible to formally recognized manners. So, this series highlights those moments. And it's the quiet influence, the meaningful presence, and everyday actions that redefine what leadership truly looks like. So today, I have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Anisha Singh, who serves as a CMO, CEO, and founder of Medical Lab Global. And she stands out to me because of all her empathy, the way that she leads with example. She is the first one to show and impact those around her. So that's the reason why I nominated Dr. Singh for this series. And I'm really excited for this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you, Silvana, for this opportunity. I look forward to our conversation today.
Wonderful. So, the first thing that I want to ask you is when you hear the word leadership, what does that mean to you? What does it mean today? Not the textbook definition, but more of like a real live version of leadership.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, for me, leadership always has meant about mentorship and support. So, when I first started exploring leadership, it was actually in the nonprofit world, way before my last job. And, when I was, I think, in my 30s still. And at that time, it was all about helping the community in Cincinnati. It was working with the Bhutanese refugees. And so the leadership was more how do we make the resources available for them? How do we educate them about different areas of the chronic medical conditions that develop when they move into the country? How do they assimilate? So all that. So leadership is really, and then you come into the physician leadership, it's the same thing. It's how do you create that support and mentorship for the other physicians and other staff members? Because if we can support and mentor the staff, then they can support the physician better. And then we need to, and mentorship is not just in terms of and the knowledge is there in the physician. So it's not about the knowledge, but it's about emotional well being for the physician, what barriers we need to remove for them so they can be, every human being needs to perform at their optimal, right? So then how do we reach there? So leadership is creating, it's almost like a servant leadership, right? But in true sense, it's a word. It's sometimes used a lot, but doesn't mean a lot. So servant leadership is really about truly letting go of the word leadership and then truly becoming the servant to the one you are serving.
That is such a nice way of putting it. I love it, and it's true. It's so misinterpreted nowadays. So it's serving more than leading. Yes, I love that. So can you share a moment when you felt like a leader, but nobody formally recognized you as one?
Oh, oh yeah. So that has been, I would say, in multiple it can be, of course, one area is the professional area. So in my last job, I started as a physician. So I started in the time of COVID. So when I joined the company, the last company, it was during COVID. Our centers were delayed, so we couldn't start the center in Cincinnati on time. So then I'm here, the physician. The patients are being enrolled, but they are in homes, and there is no office to bring them to. So at that time, I had come from the world of house call. I was a house call physician before that. So I said, well, why don't we just go to people's home and start seeing patients? So I didn't exactly, again, it was about number one, it was about the patient. And secondly, it was about the company and how do we make us successful in a new market. So I still didn't have the title, and I didn't even know at that time if the title would come, but it was more about how do I lead my team as a physician? I need to make sure that the people the other marketing team and the medical assistants, how can they be supporting me so that I can do the visit in the patient home? So I would just take the computer and then sit on a sofa or on the floor and then be able to document it. So it was fun. So that was leadership, leading your team, making them see what is possible without exactly having any formal title. But that is where I feel like title comes after you demonstrate leadership. Cannot The actual action of leadership doesn't follow the title follows the action.
Agree, 100%. And when you're saying, when you're saying you didn't even know if the title would come or what was gonna happen, what title were you referring to? Or for the viewers that don't understand about a new market, what does that mean?
Yeah, so when you join as a physician, you are of course 100% doing clinical care, but then you could become, if there are multiple centers opening, you could be a lead physician with some administrative role, you could be a center medical director. So I had wanted to uh, be in that position where I could support other physicians, improve the workflows, look at ways of how to make the center work most efficiently and optimally, both for the patient and the staff. But at that time, I did not know whether that would be a path. That depends on the people that are in the position to promote you, whether that's going to come or not. I had just expressed an interest when I first interviewed that I would love to have a down the road a leadership role. But I always feel especially at that point, I felt today it's different because I have so many years of leadership underneath me. But at that time, I did feel like I want to join in value based care. I was joining value based care. I'd never done value based care before that. So it was, if I'm starting a new place, the best place to start is to start at the level where you can learn all the ropes. If you start right at leadership, then sometimes you don't know you don't know all the aspects of being a physician and what does a center running look like. So that's what I mean, that it led to within months of me joining, I was the lead physician, and within a couple months of that, I was the center medical director. And so, but that wasn't the path why I started doing the things I was doing.
Exactly, which is the whole point of the other side of leadership, right? I think that what you were saying about sitting on the floor or on a sofa, and let's remind everybody that before COVID, the whole concept of going to homes and doing all these things was not as easy, right? Right now we have all these tools, the AI and the technology and all these different tools, and at the time that wasn't the case. And so the fact that you were going physically to the patients' homes and sitting and doing whatever you could to make them be seen and take care of them, that on its own is leadership, right?
Yeah, and then we are talking of a patient population. If the center is not open, while telemedicine was just starting at that time, right? Every company was pivoting. But our senior population, 65 and older, that we were serving as Medicare Advantage population, many did not have a laptop or even a smart. If they had a smartphone, that's fine, but they didn't know how to use it. So they're not going to join with the link.
We'll be right back.
What if networking in healthcare actually worked the way it was supposed to? No chasing posts, no algorithms deciding what you see. We built a WhatsApp community for healthcare professionals, where conversations happen in real time and people actually respond. One of those spaces is Leadership for Women in Healthcare, and these are some of the women inside it. Beyond that, there are rooms for AI, business and medicine, non-clinical paths, students, and more. You step in where it fits, and you start connecting right away.
Let's get back to the show.
But our senior population, 65 and older, that we were serving as Medicare Advantage population, many did not have a laptop or even a smart. If they had a smartphone, that's fine, but they didn't know how to use it. So they're not going to join with the link. And so the only way to do it is for us to take the laptop and be in their homes and document it. So, yeah, that was leadership. But, as I have, though, evolved, I will say that doesn't leadership doesn't have to be so naive. I mean, in the what I mean by that is, and women sometimes can do that, where they can, oh, I'm going to do everything, but I'm not going to expect anything. No, I think we need to be proactive. We need to know why we want a certain leadership position. If it is going to be only about the position and just the title, then you are anyway not going to make for an awesome leader. But if the idea is, how do I increase my circle of influence to create, better center, better market, better region, better, and then how many more people you can touch. So sometimes the title just means that. And we need to be able to know our worth and then know that, yes, if I can demonstrate efficiency and outcomes in one center, then I am suited for the next promotion. So it's like, so yeah, I do want to, when you are starting out, it's one thing, but as you mature and you realize that there is advantage to taking on bigger role in creating better culture in better, that's when you should strive for it. And not to say in any way manipulate, but do it in a way where you do have that, like, okay, the next step, I have created influence here, this is where I would like to see myself go. Be very clear with your boss, with your anyone leader above you. This is where I see myself a year down the road. This is where I see myself 5 years down the road. They may be able to create a path which you don't even know, you know and the path could not necessarily doesn't need to be about a title, but rather like, this is where I see myself when you're serving this population, doing this kind of job, and let the people above you figure it out. Maybe you are not suited for that exact linear, but you are best suited for something they're expanding into. So they can see your potential. Say, okay, we are building up a new company or new arm of this. I think she would be great one to lead that one. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're just about wrapping up our time, even though it was super quick. But if you were to say that who has impacted you most in your career to influence you to become a leader? And if you don't mind touching real quickly, while you were talking about the COVID situation, and while I had the fortune of meeting you around that time. And so it's been several years that I've been fortunate enough to not only call you a colleague, a mentor, but also a friend. And I want to know a little bit about what influenced you and some of the things that you were going through on a personal level that also impacted your leadership.
Yeah. So, in terms of clinical leadership, I will say the person who has influenced me the most is actually Dr. Jessica Chen. She was, one of
Yes.
the, yes, yeah. So, she is the kind of leader, and she's, in my previous company, she was the chief cultural officer, and also very high up, and of course related with the founders and all the part of the founding family. But the kind of leader she is, with the amount of not just empathy but focus, and so focus does mean you become somehow toxic. Focus determination doesn't mean the other side of empathy. It can coexist. You can be very focused, determined, and know what you want, very smart, and you can have empathy. You can be humble. So I think if there's someone that I don't think I think I have much to learn as I continued, because I was part of the physician well-being team wellness committee with her, so I saw her more closely, and just the empathy that she had for not just physician but to be an effective leader. I think there was a lot I can learn, and how she's continued to be an influence for me. And then during the COVID, of course, one of the things I went through was my breast cancer. So I was the center medical director, new center medical director, 5 months in. and I find breast lump. And that is a topic that I'm actually very, very interested in taking it to where, in fact, this last week, I was thinking of how do I actually develop a podcast where I can tell women how to live life through breast cancer, productive life through breast cancer, and productive life with positive attitude post breast cancer. But I went through breast cancer where I had the surgery, the chemo, and the radiation while being a center medical director and in the midst of COVID. And I did not take any time off. In fact, the first oncologist I met, she met me and she thought I was crazy to not take time off in the middle of COVID. And I said, I want to keep working. I don't want my center to have not be success. It was doing very well. My center was doing extremely well, and I told my center, think of this as hypertension. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to change the attitude in the center. We're going to stay on top through this whole thing. And so we did. So the oncologist would not understand. So, of course, what did I do? I changed my oncologist. And I said, I went, the expression on her face was like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Well, then I need someone who can work with me." Because what was going in favor of me was that I am also an Ayurvedic counselor, which is a, 5,000-year-old holistic nutrition based medicine. I am a certified holistic nutrition counselor. I am a yoga teacher. So I had the idea of how to incorporate nutrition to keep my immunity up and be able to not have side effects from chemo. So pretty much I was able to work, I got my surgery done on Tuesday, which was a lumpectomy and 15 lymph nodes removed. And I was back. They said take 6 weeks off. And guess what? I was back to work on Monday. So I
I
took
was gonna
6 days
say, I
off.
don't think that you took 6 days off. Mm.
Well, after surgery, I took 6 days off. The first week I worked was virtual. So I worked full time from home. And then I went back full time to work from the center. So there was that. And then even during chemo, like I would sit with my chemo and happened to be, it would be that afternoon time where there would be a meeting, like we would have transitional care meetings. So I just attended the meeting sitting on the chemo chair. But really, the idea is more mental also. So nutrition, but then attitude. I refuse to be a victim of the circumstances. And, what I learned was that you can, if you allow, you can go either way. You can become where everything, if, of course, it's going to affect you. And so physically, there is going to be the effect of chemo. You're going to have bone pain, and you can sort of, not to say, don't say that, oh, I don't have bone pain. Say that, deal with it. It's like I started getting chemo, say, for example, on Friday. So I had Saturday and Sunday to recover. And then I would be back to work on Monday. Um, but it was just mental game also. And I wasn't toughing it out really. I think I was doing very well. In fact, the joke in the center was everyone was waiting for Dr. Singh to slow down a little bit, but Dr. Singh and and my sister would come from Chicago and we would play board games and I'd still beat them, on my board game. So
Yes. All right. Well, that's amazing. I love your story. I admire you so much, and I thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I would love to sit down and talk forever with you. Which I hope that we can invite you back. And thank you for sharing your perspective and your wisdom with us. Um, what we've shared today is exactly what this series is about, and leadership that isn't always visible, but it's deeply impactful. So, to everyone watching or listening, we hope this conversation expands how you see leadership and not in others, but more in yourself. I'm Silvana Fishman, and this is The Other Side of Leadership. Thank you.
thank you.